In my opinion, one of the most important things is to be able to put a consistent and repeatable stroke on the cue ball, and very important, hit a specific point or the point you're intending to hit on the cue ball. And I have a great exercise that I used to do when I had my coaching with Alex lately. And all we need for that is first just the cue ball and then just a second ball. So let me show you what this is all about. So first of all, we have this line, as you can see, from 1, 2 diamonds to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 diamonds. And you just have to put the cue ball onto that line from diamond 5 to diamond 2. And this is basically, it's almost a kicking system. So if you're playing that shot now, when you're just hitting the center of the cue ball and you put a nice stroke onto the cue ball, then the cue ball should go into this pocket if you hit it the right way. And the good thing about this system is it works on any table, no matter if it's new cloth that it's still sliding or if it's old cloth. And this is just because of the stroke you're putting onto the cue ball. This is very important. If you put the right stroke onto it, the cue ball just will fall into this pocket. So let me show you how the stroke should look. Hopefully I can pull it off. So center of the cue ball, nice speed, and then the cue ball will go into the heart of the pocket. And if you now always put the same stroke onto the cue ball, you will always be able to make that shot into that pocket. But this is not the only exercise or the only part of this exercise, because now if you go over to diamond 6 and connect diamond 6 to diamond 2.5 and put the cue ball exactly on that line, and if you now put the exact same stroke onto the cue ball with the exact spin you just put onto the cue ball, which is just center cue ball, then the cue ball will once again go into this pocket, no matter on what table you're playing. So this should work on your table as well as it's working on my table. Let's give it a try. Very important, we have to put the same stroke onto the cue ball, no spin, and we're able once again to make that shot. But this is not everything. We also have the line that goes all the way from diamond 7 to diamond 3. And if you put the cue ball once again onto that line, and if you're once again hitting center of the cue ball with the same stroke we just put onto the cue ball on the 2 shots before, we once again should be able to make the cue ball into the corner pocket. Okay, what happened here? I didn't make it. So why did I not make it this time? Well, I either put a bit of low onto the cue ball. This means the angle will, of course, with that low, the angle will shallow a bit, or I hit a bit too hard. This will also mean that the angle will shallow. If you hit too soft, the angle will open, or if you put high, the angle will open, or of course, right spin or left spin. So let's give it a try once again. Very important when you're doing this exercise, don't actually try to make the cue ball one rail into here. Just focus on the process. Don't focus on the outcome. This is a general advice that is very important. If I'm putting the right stroke onto the cue ball and if I'm hitting the right spot on the cue ball, then the cue ball has no other chance than to go in here. But if on the other hand, I'm trying when I'm down to actually make the cue ball and just try to force the result, then something like this will happen because I was just focused too much on the outcome, and this is very, very important. So let's give it a try once again, where we're just focusing on the process, on the execution instead of the outcome. And this is a very good indication, once again, to be able to put a repeatable stroke with the right tip position onto the cue ball. So let's see. Now I was able to make that shot. And if you're doing this exercise, you can maybe give yourself the task, I want to start with this shot. Once I make it one rail, then I head over to here, and once I'm making, for example, 6 shots, 9 shots in a row, then I'm going to do something else. And what we're going to do is, once you're happy with just playing the plain cue ball into here, you can also start to add another ball. So once again, try to put the balls onto that line and then just play the bank shot. And it's the same. You gotta put the right stroke with the right speed onto the ball, and then you are able to make the bank Hit it a bit too soft. I saw it right away. Just because I hit it a bit too soft, the angle opened a bit too much. So this is a very, very good indication to see if you can actually put the right speed, the right stroke, the right timing onto the ball every single time. Let's give it once again a try. Now I was able to make the shot. I just hit a bit harder, and this of course will make a difference on how the rails are reacting. Let's try to play the last two shots. So remember, line 6 to 3.5. Play the shot. Once again, you gotta free your mind from the outcome, from the result. Just focus on the process. Let's see. Of course, when you're banking the ball, it's a bit more difficult than just with the cue ball. Hit a bit too hard. Let's give it another try. And of course here, it's vice versa because the cue ball will transfer spin to the object ball. So of course, follow on the cue ball will in this case mean that the 13 ball or the object ball will get a bit of backwards rotation. This means in this time, if you're hitting too high, then the angle will actually close. And if you're hitting too low, we'll put forward rotation on the 13 ball. This means the angle will open. And of course, you gotta be really on that line. If you're not on that line, then you're aiming to a wrong spot with a wrong angle and you can't make the ball. So maybe get those paper reinforcement rings, get a piece of chalk, mark the positions, and then you can put the cue ball every single time to the right spot. Now, I really took the time to find the right line, and now we made the bank shot into the heart of the pocket. And once again, just to verify, let's go onto that line from diamond 7 exactly to diamond 3. So object ball here, cue ball here. Is this fine? No, gotta adjust a bit. So as I mentioned, if you wanna save yourself a bit of time, mark the positions exactly. It's a bit tricky now. Maybe like this. Let's see. Very, very powerful exercise. Very, very good to work once again on a repeatable stroke, on putting the exact spin onto the cue ball. So intentional left spin or right spin will make this almost impossible because the cue ball will react differently every single time. Once again, with just a bit of right spin on this line, for example, see, tiny bit of right spin, just too soft, and all of a sudden the cue ball goes to here. And it's also a very good mental exercise because you just gotta focus on the process, not on the outcome, not actually making the bank shot, not actually making the cue ball into here. So a very powerful exercise.